What's up, everyone? Welcome to a True Underground Story podcast. I'm the host, Timmy Burner. Today I'm with Slimlxrd. So, tell people a bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Erie, Pennsylvania. Grew up right on Lake Erie. Man, I bounced around quite a bit, but I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania for 14 years. Since then, it's been a journey all over the country.
Let's say, yeah. As long as I've known you, you've been on the move. I mean,
Yeah.
we had, I think it was a creative writing class together my senior year.
Yep.
I want to say in one of your poems that they had you write, you mentioned that you kind of grew up in a trailer park there in Pennsylvania.
No, it was more, it was inner city. It was more like project housing. So it was a bunch of brick houses that just made up the whole block, and they're all interconnected. Like, if you just ran up in the attic, you could jump through and literally break a wall into your neighbor's house. It was absolutely insane. But it's probably about 20 houses on a block that are all just layered up brick together. So it's kind of an insane environment.
What was your childhood like? Because you lived there for so long. What was your childhood like growing up in that environment?
It kind of shaped a lot of my perspective. I grew up kind of on the outskirts of the main inner part of the city. It wasn't quite the suburbs. It was kind of in between both those areas. So I got to see kind of the best of both worlds. There was some kids I grew up with that were way better off, than my family's financial situation. But there was also families that were way worse off too. So I was kind of right in the middle. And a lot of the experiences I found myself in kind of shaped my perspective moving forward. Especially when I started moving around the country a little bit, I realized kind of what that upbringing in that environment and culture really kind of offered me personality-wise. I've found a lot about myself from that situation, but moving forward after it. Obviously, when I was living in my hometown, it was just kind of cut and dry. These are my friends. I've always known them. And it wasn't until after that I really learned about kind of who I was on this journey.
How did you end up going from there to the country-ass town of Eaton, Ohio?
Oh, man. So that's a wild story in itself. So my dad had actually remarried to my current stepmom at the time, or, she's still my current stepmom now. And they had my baby brother. And so my time was just kind of coming to an end in Erie, Pennsylvania, right? So my dad kind of told me, he's like, you're going to live with your moms and you're going to stay up there out in Arizona, And before that could really transition, my mom had me stay up in New York with not New York City, but upstate New York, kind of Buffalo area with my mom's sister for a little while. So I started off school out in kind of a smaller kind of town out there in New York, and then transitioned to Phoenix halfway through my sophomore year. From there, it was pretty apparent that my mom couldn't handle all of my personality traits, because I never really lived with my mom like that prior to this. And we were just at two different spots. She didn't know how to kind of raise me, and I didn't really know how to respect her boundaries and what she had going on. So I just invited a lot of trouble, and so my mom was like, you know what, you're going to finish up high school with grandma and grandpa. So that's what brought me to Ohio, is my grandparents lived out to, they lived in Lockengrin, which is, kind of the nice part of Eaton, Ohio, I guess, so to speak. But, yeah, they moved out there a few years before to help my aunt raising her children. And so they moved out to, Eaton, Ohio, because it was kind of close to where my aunt and uncle were staying at the time. And that's what brought me out to Ohio.
Now, and then at what age did you really start to find your passion for making music?
As with any great story, I feel like there's layers to it, right? So I'd always been kind of keen in the writing and the English language. As far as English was always my favorite class. I always loved writing. I'd actually written a rap. I don't have it saved. When I was in third grade, you know what I mean? But I didn't really take it seriously. A lot of it was just imitation at that point. I think 8 Mile had just came out, and I just got done seeing that as a youth. I was just 9 years old maybe, and I was fucking with Eminem cadence, and I liked the way he was like, I like this character in that movie, and so like there's like that ending rap battle, right? Like that beat, that Shook One's beat. I never heard the song before prior to that, so like that beat like really just like did something for me, and I was like kind of like copying down like the cadence and the flow of like what he was saying, but I was putting my own words to it. But it wasn't really until I would say like mid 10th grade year, so when I was like 15, about to be 16. I was at a party one time with some homies, and that same beat came on, that Shook One's beat, but it was just instrumental for some reason, and like it wasn't intentional by any means, but I just started like busting out this flow, and everyone was like, "Holy shit! Like you got some skills," and I was like, "Do I really?" Like all right, cool. And then from there, I just like would freestyle here and there, but I didn't really ever like write my first rap and like take that seriously like until 11th grade year when we had that creative writing class. My 11th grade year, your senior year.
To say, because like since the time I've known you, I just always knew that you made music because you worked with my cousin Haley.
Yeah.
We would go kick it with you, and you were always like at your grandparents' house and making music and stuff.
Yeah. And a huge inspiration and aspiration for me was to like I looked up to the older cats that were in making music. Like Curre and JD, they was all making music too, but they had like all the equipment and shit. And I was like, damn, like these guys are serious about it, and so, I kicked it with them a few times, and that really kind of like escalated my drive and my ambition to like start getting the equipment and start like actually taking it like pretty seriously. I vaulted a lot of projects up until recently, so I really just started dropping stuff on streaming platforms and whatnot last year. I dabbled with dropping some stuff on SoundCloud, but I really got to owe it to those guys, man. They really, kind of showed me the way from a younger age because they were a few years older than me. I think a couple years older than you too. So those guys were a huge inspiration. Max, Kurt Bob, JD, all of them.
Kurt Bob's still making music.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen that.
You should try and link up and do a track. I think it'd be cool to like kind of pay homage to him on a track with
him. For sure. I owe them guys a lot, for real.
So as long as I've known you, you've always had different stage names.
Yeah.
How did you come about choosing the name Slimlxrd for your newest stage name that you're going by, and you've kind of stuck with now for like over a year now?
Yeah. So I think part of like the artistry aspect and stuff was like, growing up, I never really had like a nickname. So, and I don't really like, my legal name isn't like all that cool, you know what I mean? So like, I always knew I needed to do something, and I like would always struggle with finding a name that like was catchy and that stuck. But it actually wasn't until my first prison stint that like I actually had a nickname. Like everyone that was on the compound was just calling me Slim because I was like so fucking tall and skinny. Like it was like the only thing that made sense. I'm out there hooping and meshing around, mingling with the guys and whatnot, doing whatever on the compound, and they all would call me Slim. So I just kind of rolled with that when I decided to do this like last name change. And the LXRD part actually just came in because I tried running some merch a while back, and I had it dubbed as Grime Lord. Like I don't know, just like some grimy street kind of like logos I would come up with and like try to like drop on some merch. And so when I decided to do the name Slim, I started like looking into distribution platforms and stuff like that. And they actually have a list. Like if you just type in, like you start typing in the name under like what you want to drop it as, like other names will pop up. And I didn't realize how many other Slims there was in the game, right? Like they got like Slim Shady, Slim Thug. There's like all these other Slims I've never even heard of before. And so I was like, you know what? Like let me add this part of that merchandise stuff that I was trying to do and just put it all together. And I've just been rolling with it ever since.
So you mentioned the prison stint.
Yeah.
I try to avoid that topic with some people because some people want to leave that shit in the past. You were very forward about the things that you've done, your time spent.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got it as album covers and shit.
Yeah.
So you did, what year was that first prison stint?
First prison stint was 2018, 2019. And then I just got incarcerated again last year. So I was down just under a year this time, from 2021. I just got out last month, actually.
Now, what kind of like, I'm trying to think of the way to word it, because like prison reform isn't what it should be.
No.
They don't really reform you in prison. It's more just a punishment with you're fucked after you get out.
Right.
So, like, how are you trying to move forward in life to kind of, like, avoid going back into old situations and trying to readjust to civilian life?
Well, that's a great question. My biggest focus while I was down this last time was to avoid the drama, stay out of the bullshit, and my time spent this last, I was scheduled to do a year. I only ended up doing about 8 months. But my time the whole time was just focused on coming up with a game plan for this music like situation. How much capital I'm gonna need to feel like I can like really transition into doing work for myself, which is just doing like multimedia stuff and really trying to promote this on a serious level, more serious than just word of mouth and Snapchat promotion and IG promotion and stuff like that. So, I spent probably the greater part of 8 months really just coming up with a game plan to avoid like going back into that old lifestyle first and foremost, and then also just like how I can actually like capitalize like as just like a kind of like an amateur player in the music world, you know what I mean, like on an independent level. And I've got, I came up with a game plan, and there is some access that as felons they give us to really like kind of jumpstart programs for yourself, because legally we are the only like group that can be discriminated on, with just regular employment, so to speak. I'm fortunate enough now to have a position where I'm working with a close homie who owns his own business, so I was able to kind of like bypass those hurdles, those obstacles, those roadblocks, and I'm making pretty good money doing what I'm doing, and it's going to be beneficial, like what I'm learning right now, for when I'm able to transition into my own line of work, because right now I'm kind of like, I don't want to say like this CFO by any means, because I'm not like a certified public accountant, but like I'm in pretty good control of like what we got going on financially for his business. And so like just seeing the ins and outs of how the money's moving and operating and being able to like account for profits and losses, just on purchase orders and invoicing and stuff like that, it goes a long way.
Something you should like look into trying to do that you could like kind of run your own business as, like get the equipment to make merch yourself, and then right. Because you have ties with a lot of different artists and stuff, so if they have like ideas, you can make their merch for them and sell it, and then you take the cost you have, they get the
right. And then yeah, absolutely, that's a good idea. I haven't actually thought about doing that. That's actually a really good idea.
So earlier you had mentioned like 3rd grade you saw 8 Mile, and like that kind of really got you into music. What music did you grow up listening to, whether it was the stuff you chose to seek out or the stuff your parents had you listening to?
I would say like probably like 80s kind of pop was like usually what was like playing on the radio, but I'd spent a lot of time bouncing back. Even when I was living with my father, I'd bounce a lot of time between my mom's parents, so like my maternal grandparents, and my dad. And when I was living with my grandparents, a lot of like Motown, just oldies, like I would say anywhere from like the 50s to the 70s was like frequently on. And that's probably like what I listen to the most, honestly. Like when I'm at work, I'll be jamming to Spotify, and I got like the Dramatics going on in the background, or I got like Earth, Wind and Fire playing in the background. Like I just got that old soul, like. And not only that, but it's cool because you see a lot of where like some of these most popular songs are getting samples from. Like I'll just be randomly listening to like an Isley Brothers song or something like that will pop on, and I'll be like, damn, that sounds like Today Was a Good Day by Ice Cube, and lo and behold, it was the same sample, So that's kind of where my music interest caters to is, I bump oldies all day, every day. That's my go-to for sure.
I tell people all the time, it's funny, like when you listen to a song and then you can like, if you look at like the credits on it, you'll see like somebody from the 80s or something is listed because it's a sample of a song that was hit once.
Right. That's funny. That is true. That is how it goes too. That's wild.
So what exactly finally gave you that full push? I know you mentioned like Kurt, Bob, and seeing them like really gave you that push to pursue music, but since leaving Ohio and just because you've been making music this whole time, what made you fully switch that gear to want to pursue making music full time?
I think, and I'm a firm believer in this too, I think you kind of cater towards people that reflect your interests, right? You kind of gravitate towards people that reflect what you have going on in life. So when I moved back to Arizona, I had tried to reacquaint myself with some of those old friends and stuff, but they were just like on completely different shit, right? So I kind of just restarted my whole friend group when I moved back out to Arizona in 2012, and I was working some kind of like BS jobs here and there just to kind of show verification of employment for some things I had going on, and um, some of those people I met at those jobs were heavily influenced into the same kind of stuff that I was, like music wise. So I kind of it kind of kept my interest peaked as far as like what I want to do. I feel like I got a pretty unique story to tell, and I feel like I'm pretty good at putting the words together to tell it in the correct fashion. And some of these people were just right up my avenue, not only with the interest in pursuing music, but also like the same kind of music, like the same like conscientious, kind of like conscious, type of talk. Lifestyle differences have kind of shifted, in different areas of life. So I might be conscientious and conscious, but it's more related about, the part of the journey that I've been on over the last few years, with these most recent drops of music for sure.
I mean, that's kind of what a lot of music is nowadays, though. It's like telling people's life stories, especially like in the early stages of an artist. It's them telling their story, and then it kind of just shifts into making whatever they can write or come up with. But a lot of artists, that's how they all start. It's just them telling their stories through their songs. And you do that a lot with a lot of things. I mean, with your EP, State Trials, the whole EP is telling the story.
Yeah, the whole idea behind State Trials was just basically giving the story of what was leading me up to my most recent incarceration, stuff I had going on, like outside of regular work, so to speak, and finally getting caught up and in that pinch. It is what it is. But I just wanted people to know, in case, God forbid, I don't make it out. At least my story's been told somewhere, and I have potential listeners on that. So I try to always keep it reflective. Some of it is, some of the music that I come out with is lived vicariously through some of my other acquaintances, endeavors, that I've been there for. Not all of everything I say is been done firsthand, but I would say 90% of it is. But it's just, I just try to keep it light as best I can. At the same time, I try to just be as hard as I can with the music shit. So it's trying to find that perfect blend.
Now, before I ask the next question, is your mom still around?
She's out west. She bounces back and forth between a couple different states for her job. She's like in the OSHA field, I guess, for like oil companies or something like that. So I really don't know too much about what she's got going on, but I know she's bouncing back and forth between a couple different states out west.
The only reason why I ask is because I like to know, like, what do like artists' family and friends think about their decision to make music and the music that they make.
Right. That's fair. My mom has probably only heard a handful of the songs that I've made, and I don't think she likes any of them. My grandma, she likes a couple of them. The ones where I'm not like swearing and stuff like that. They're just real old school like that. But yeah, I think my biggest supporters, family-wise, is probably my younger half brother, and that's probably about it for real.
What artists would you kind of like say influence your sound and style? Because you are a very like lo-fi type beat rapper.
Yeah.
So what artist kind of like gave you that influence to take that route?
I would say probably like, and not that I put myself like on their level by any fashion, but some of my favorite artists that I would listen to, probably like Currency, Max B, just that kind of nostalgic kind of vibe and feel. I've been trying to dabble a little bit more in this mainstream shit that's going on, but it's this current era is just very unique, music wise, like, on the ears. It's definitely not what it was in the early 2000s, late 90s, and that's kind of like where my sound probably is catered to, beat wise. But I've been trying to branch out from that just to try to see like what pops off and what the people kind of want to hear from me, you know. So I don't feel like there's any beat that I can't approach, but if I had to pay homage to some artists that have done it and done it successfully and that I kind of try to emulate within my own music, it'd probably be Currency, Max B, kind of like pretty much the whole Jet Life crew, you know, Currency, Young Roddy, Trademark, all them. That's kind of like the sounds that get me in my creative process, like up to peak.
What is your take on like where like mainstream hip hop's gone? Because it is very, a lot of the hit songs now are very pop forward.
Yeah. And I feel like they're very sexually explicit, right? So, so I don't know. It's the mainstream scene to me for the most part. It's like 90% like club bangers and like 10% maybe like some conscious shit. Like, you know, if Kendrick drops or J. Cole drops and maybe even Drake sometimes. I don't really know where I classify Drake as a rapper per se. Definitely makes great music. I just don't know if I would like put him in like the club realm or like the conscious realm because he's able to kind of bridge that gap pretty craftily in his albums.
Yeah.
But you know, I would say like for the mainstream shit, I would say it's like 90% club, 10% like relatable on certain levels. You know, I can't really get on board with like the driving Lamborghinis and shit like that because I don't drive Lamborghinis. You know what I mean? So I can't relate to what that feels like.
If you could get a feature from like any mainstream artist, who would be somebody you'd want to cop a feature from?
Right now, right now, probably someone in Griselda, probably West Side Gun, probably Benny the Butcher, maybe even Conway. I think it'd be kind of a hard mesh, depending on like the content of the song. I think I'd probably have better luck with West Side Gun, but like Benny the Butcher would be like right up there, like with him.
It's funny. I almost made a Griselda joke earlier when you said that you stayed up in New York, up by the Buffalo area.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I'm glad Buffalo's finally getting some notoriety, man. They got some people up there that know what they're doing.
What's been like the hardest thing for you as an artist?
Getting the numbers right, getting the streaming and stuff like that. But I've also ran zero promotion. I've invested $0 in anything outside of equipment at this point, which is pretty much my next line of business is launching the business and launching like the artistry as a brand, right, and putting that foot forward finally, and having the capital to back me up behind it, so I can actually make that transition time-wise too. Because right now my time is split between holding down a job to make parole happy, and you know that is a lot of time out of my day where I could be crafting music, learning how to navigate the music industry just a little bit more tactfully than just shit posting online all the time. So
something I want to see somebody do to like really promote themselves that I think could probably work is if you went like got billboards or park benches in a bunch of different cities and put like
put your artistry name.
Yeah, with that and like a QR code or whatever for your newest release. I'm just curious to see how much that would improve streams on a song.
You know, that is something I not quite to that degree. That is something I had just talked to another music homie about not too long ago. Was just, you know, taking you know, a quick like $25-$30, just getting like business cards printed on them with just a QR code and just like tacking them up at like Walmart post boards and like wherever, like whatever else like convenience stores are around, because they got like those little boards and shit, you know, you can just kind of like put flyers on and shit. So I was like thinking about just like going around and just doing that one day with like, I don't know, 200, 300 QR codes and just seeing what happens. Not quite to the
That's actually not a bad idea.
But yeah, not quite to the degree of having a park bench in your name or like a, you know, a spot dedicated at a park to your name, but something along those same lines.
Yeah, that or just like printing flyers and like taking them to gas stations.
Yeah.
A lot of gas stations will let you put whatever the fuck you want on the counter. They don't give a shit.
Provocative or not, they don't even look at it. They just let you. All right, you need to put something up there. All right, cool. Advertising. All right.
What's been like the most rewarding part for you thus far with your music career?
Just being able to have something I can show people, like, I don't like, outside of like interviewing and outside of like someone really trying to get to know you, I don't like talking about myself all that much. But I love putting it into music. Like I love putting it into music form. So being able to like put my story together and blend it as craftily and as tactfully as I can with the mix and the masters, putting it out there for the world to hear. And if anyone wants to know about me, boom, they can just listen to some music and they can get a pretty good gist of who I am. Like the pictures that get painted.
So, let's see. Who would be some like producers, big name producers in the game that you would love to be able to like work with down the road?
Oh, easy. Alchemist first and foremost.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, Alchemist would be an easy one for me to hop on beats wise. If I'm scrolling on YouTube and looking for some free beats I can use, I'm always like Alchemist type beats. Like boom, there we go. But other than that, yeah, I would say like Alchemist, Hit Boy. Even Lex Luger's had some kind of like soul chop samples back in the day that I would like love to like see what he'd be able to put together. With this new era and the way things are kind of like shaping up, I should say, with the way the sounds are blending, I would say some like Southside or 808 Mafia would be kind of cool because they kind of have a unique blend of sounds. It's not like 100% just like bass in your face. Like they got some wavy like movements in there. You know what I mean? Like kind of ethereal trap sounding stuff. Yeah, I think like with those new guys, Southside or 808 would probably be the way to go. Other than that, like Alchemist, Hit Boy, like they can chop some samples up pretty fucking mean.
So I don't know how often, if you've got to catch any of these interviews yet. I do have a game that I play called This or That.
This or that. Okay.
I'll present two artists to you, and you tell me which one you gonna bump first. G Unit or Slaughterhouse?
G Unit.
XX Tension or Juice WRLD?
XXX.
Kid Cudi or Denzel Curry?
That's a good one. Kid Cudi.
Kevin Gates or Joyner Lucas?
Oh man, pass on both of them.
That's
no,
you can pass.
If I had to pick one though, I'd say Kevin Gates.
Lupe Fiasco or Wale?
Lupe.
Wiz Khalifa or Young Thug?
Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, gotta stand up, yeah.
Nelly or Akon?
Nelly low-key got some bangers. I would say Nelly.
I'm going to shoot this one at you. Nardo Wick or Pooh Shiesty?
Pooh Shiesty all day.
Outkast or Wu-Tang?
Outkast. Surprisingly, but I'd say Outkast.
Eminem or Paul Wall?
Paul Wall.
I usually do the game, but I knew that you liked Paul Wall, so I wanted to see how that would work. 50 Cent or Jadakiss?
Oh. Old 50 goes hard. Get Rich or Die Trying, that album's a classic. But Jadakiss never misses. I would still probably have to go 50. No disrespect to Jadakiss.
E40 or Twista?
Twista.
The Lox or Dipset?
Dipset.
Really? I was really thought you would go with the Lox on that one.
Yeah.
That threw me. Goody Mob or Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Bone Thugs.
21 Savage or Kodak Black?
Kodak Black all day.
What's funny is I say this a lot on this podcast. I fucking could not stand either one of them when they first came out. And in the last 2 years, they've both really grown on me because they developed so much.
Right. Yeah. No, that's no disrespect to 21 Savage either. But just being able to relate to some stuff that Kodak Black puts out there. He talks about doing time quite a bit in a lot of his music. And it's all very relatable, like if you've ever been in that situation, So there's a lot of stuff that he said that really didn't click until after I'd been through that situation and through those situations myself. So I wasn't a huge fan of him at first either when he came out, but lately he's been, kind of like out of these newer kind of guys that have been dropping over the last few years. He's probably the one I got more engagement with.
Ab Soul or Schoolboy Q?
Ah, man, that's a good one. Man, Ab Soul doesn't drop music that frequently, man. I have to say Schoolboy Q.
It's true. I think he's actually supposed to drop this year, or he did just recently drop.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think he did just recently drop, but like he's been out for so long. Like he kind of like is on the same wavelength of like Jay Electronica, like fire ass music, but drops once a decade.
I don't even want to talk about it because I wasn't a fan of Jay Electronica's last album.
Yeah.
To me, J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar?
Kendrick.
Chris Brown or Tory Lanez?
Oh man, I feel like that question's a trap, man. But I'd have to say Chris Brown.
That's why I put them together.
Yeah, no doubt.
Erykah Badu or Lauryn Hill?
Erykah Badu all day.
Jay-Z or Nas?
Jay-Z.
Tupac or Biggie?
Biggie.
Okay. Mobb Deep or UGK?
Man, rest in peace, Prodigy. But yeah, Mobb Deep. I'd have to go with Mobb Deep.
Pusha T or Kanye?
Kanye. Yeah.
Lil Wayne or Drake?
Drake.
You might have to pass on this one, but I'm going to try it because you know some underground. Ransom or Joe Budden?
Ransom.
Royce the 5'9" or Benny the Butcher?
Benny the Butcher all day.
I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Gucci Mane or Jeezy?
Gucci.
T.I. or Ludacris?
Luda.
West Side Gun or Conway the Machine?
West Side Gun.
Gunna or G Herbo?
With all this bullshit around Gunna right now, I'm going to have to go G Herbo for sure. Gunna's getting no love over here.
Young Dolph or Nipsey Hussle?
Nipsey.
Lil Durk or Lil Baby?
Lil Baby.
Dub Baby or Polo G?
Probably Dub Baby.
ESTG or 42 Doug?
42 Doug.
Baby Keem or Jid?
Jid for sure.
Jid's up next, man.
Yeah.
He's
been on the radar for a while, but I think he got that star factor behind him, especially part of Dreamville and all that. Like
J. Cole signed, sent him through the roof on that shit.
Yeah, again, taking places.
So, where you're at now, where are you thinking you're going to be with getting music videos and stuff shot?
That's just right up there. Like I kind of got like things in a trio right now as far as how I want to start like doing the rollouts. So right now is obtain a capital, keep dropping some of these singles. I'm kind of actually going to roll back some of that stuff for the summertime. Just to get that capital right, and then I'm going to start kind of doing like music video snippets for some singles that I have dropped out. Once I can kind of get snippets up to a certain amount of plays on like YouTube or like whatever platform it gets dropped on, like even if I just drop a snippet on here, once it gets like so much love, then I'll like release the full music video, and then I'm going to start rolling back out just snippets of only songs that I have not released yet on Spotify or anything that I've already got music videos for. And then once those get so much love, then I'll drop the video and then drop the single along with it right around the same time. I try to plan the release at the same day. That way people can listen to it on Spotify if they can't watch it, or they can just watch it on YouTube because it'll drop on both platforms. But my rollout, I've actually been talking to my homie in Cali about this because we got an EP coming up soon. And he just shot a music video for one of his stuff. A song called Change is pretty good. And anyways, so like we've been game planning how we're gonna start rolling stuff out here moving forward. Because not only is he my homie who also makes his own music, but he's currently my engineer. So like all the new music that gets released and stuff, he's got his hands on pretty much everything I got going on with these projects. So he's definitely a huge part in what I got coming out. Right now, just being able to find the right people that can shoot videos in a format and a fashion that I feel comfortable with. You know, I kind of I don't like the micromanage, but I do like my creative input
Yeah.
for like the vision behind what I want to have done get done. You know, I had shot a couple music videos a couple years back under previous moniker that I'd gone by under the Avi Lane stuff, and I enjoyed those music videos. Unfortunately, my guy moved out of the area I'm currently at, so he's back in Wichita right now. So it's not quite as easy to get those arrangements made, and there's no one else really out here who's got his level of expertise on being able to craft up videos. So right now it's just kind of vaulting material, coming up with concepts for the videos, and then hopefully by the summertime, when summer rolls back around, I'll be able to get in touch with the right people in this current area that I'm at with getting some more video shot. But I know that's like the hugest, that's like content wise, that's like the biggest thing on my plate right now is just start knocking out videos for sure.
I mean, if you got like time before you're able to get them done, I would just like when you get a song done, like just get a paper and like kind of write down like your creative idea for what you want the music video to look like. That way you can start game planning for
Right.
like set decks and all that stuff to make sure that you can bring the vision to life when you got the capital for it.
Yep.
So I meant to bring it up earlier when we were talking about your release from Incarceration. When you got out, you got on TikTok and you started spamming women on their live streams on TikTok.
Yeah.
Shout outs using the same sentence of just got out of prison. Can I get a shout out?
Hey.
What made you decide to take that route?
Hey, I was just kind of bullshit one day, and I was talking to the homie, and I was like, you know what, dude, let me see if I can't get someone to like shout this out, right? And like the more I kept like just fucking around and doing it, the more responses I was getting. I just thought that was the most hilarious fucking thing. It wasn't really even intentional at first, and then after a while, it kind of became like a joke, right? Like an ongoing thing. It was just like, you know, like bored today, let's see if we can't do it again. And so I would just like shoot my shots and just try to get shout outs, and lo and behold, it actually was working, and I was very surprised, to be honest with you, that it was working. I thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever, but yeah, it was. It started off as a joke, and then it was just kind of like, well, let's just see how long we can keep this joke going up.
How often have you got to perform live?
I've only performed live one time actually, and that's like that's something I need to jump back into. I know that's going to go a long way as far as getting organic promotion. You know what I mean? Right now, it's kind of along the same lines of the music video. The culture I'm currently tangled in right now is not very urban related. So it's it's kind of a smaller town, similar to Eaton. It's kind of like the Wild West out here. It's just it's a kind of a damper on my creative spirit. So that's why right now I'm locking myself in the studio, after I get off work most days and on weekends and shit, just to stay out of trouble first and foremost. But on top of that, I'm actually just out here I'm nonstop working. I've got, I think, like 13 drops coming in the next month. Like a lot of them are singles. One of them's that EP I was talking about. So there's a lot of music that's about to just start spamming people's accounts on anyone who follows me. But my two biggest steps right now after obtaining the capital that I can feel comfortable at to like transition into doing this more full time is shows and music videos. That's like the two biggest things, and then the third behind that would just be merchandise.
Selling merch definitely helps.
Yeah, for sure, especially because like I'm trying to brand the merchandise, like not necessarily like attached to my artistry name. So if I can just like bootleg some like followers and some like listeners off of like the merchandising stuff, I think that's a unique approach to have.
what would be some advice you would give your younger self or a young kid wanting to start making music?
Take it serious, take it more serious earlier, for sure. You know, like I didn't have my first drop on Spotify till last year, like 3 months before I knew I was like about to be locked up for almost a year, right? So, uh, I wish part of me wishes I hadn't waited that long, but the other part of me is just like everything in due time. So, a lot of the mixing and mastering was far off, and there's even some songs on Spotify where the mix is pretty horrendous, and that's me trying to do it myself. But once I put and probably my other piece of advice would be like put a team around you, right? Once I started branching out and networking with other artists who were better at certain things than I was, and was able to like outsource material to them, the drops got more crisp, and my time was spent more efficiently because I wasn't having to try to do everything myself. So I could just send raw vocals off now and kind of get back to like other things I have going on in life, right? And I don't got to like focus 100% of my time on trying to do every part of it myself. So I would say definitely have a team around you and just take it more serious from the rip. It started off as fun and games, but the transition into trying to make it into a business didn't occur until more recently. So much later from the time I started making.
When you're making your music, how are you finding your beats?
Right now, I'm as simple as it gets. With the distribution platform where it's at. Unless I really like a beat and I need to have it, I don't want nobody else to have it. I'll go off BeatStars and rip it, right, and buy it that way. But if with the level of music I'm making, like as frequent as the drops are coming, I can't afford to buy every beat right now like that. I can't blow $100 on 30 beat, or like $100 a beat for 30 beats. That's there's a fuck ton of that's $3,000 on beats, right? It's just not something I'm willing to do at this moment, just because of where I've got things situated with parole and some financial obligations I have. So if I'm not buying the beats that I absolutely love, like right now, I'm just ripping free for profit beats off YouTube and just rolling with it.
Have you ever thought about trying to make your own beats?
Yeah, I have. And part of me kind of has that part of my brain like kind of turned off. I know what I like to listen to, and I know what I would like to make if I could have the time to kind of like spend more efficiently doing that. But what kind of threw me off was like the fact that I've been trying to like master and mix my own vocals for the longest time. I can't even do that. So it's like part of me is just like unsynchronized with technology in that aspect in a realm. So I got like the bare basic equipment that I need to like send shit off and have people do for me. I would love to make beats if I had enough time to like spend doing that.
Sit down and be able to.
Yeah. That's gonna be that's gonna be something I pursue when I get to that capital number I'm trying to reach at. I'm trying to get to about 35-40 grand in savings before the end of this year, which is a pretty realistic goal. I'm damn near halfway there. And once I get to that number, I'm transitioning off into this thing full time, because like that's gonna give me enough time to like figure things out without having to like focus on other people's work, right? So that's kind of like where I'm at with it.
What's your idea of making it in the music industry?
Just being comfortable, just doing what I love, and just at the end of the day, like all I want is peace. I could give a fuck less about the fame. I could give a fuck less about having millions and millions of dollars. But if I can do what I love to do, which is make music, and have a successful, decent income stream from it.
Off without having.
Yeah, without like I said, I don't care about having the fame and glory. I don't really care to be in magazines on the front cover, none of that shit. And I don't care about having bazillions of dollars, like too much money that I don't even know what to do with, right? Like I just want to be comfortable with like what I got going on in life, and I don't want to have to work for anybody else doing it. That's literally my version of success. Doing what I love to do for myself, not working for nobody else, and being comfortable financially.
Do you know who 1090 Jake is?
Rings a bell, but I can't say that I do.
He's a YouTuber that he's a white guy that's from Boston that's like a certified blood.
Okay.
And his whole YouTube channel is him like doxing rappers that have snitched.
Oh shit.
His content's pretty good. I think you'd actually fuck with his content a lot.
1090.
He took a break from YouTube, but he announced he's back today.
Okay, interesting. 1090 Jake, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give that a look. I'll see what's up.
So I do have a segment that I just started doing this for the season 2 here, where I read a snippet off Reddit from the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and I'll read you the post here, and then give me your opinion on whether the person is the asshole in the situation or not.
All right.
Last night, my significant other, who's 28 and is female, woke me up. I'm 29, male, up at around 3 a.m. to tell me that I had thrown our dog off the bed while sleeping. I was a bit annoyed that she woke me up, so I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water and use the restroom. I tried to stay as sleepy as possible to fall back asleep quickly. When I returned to the bed, my significant other told me to wash my hands, as she had apparently heard me in the restroom and noticed that I forgot to wash them off in my half-asleep state. I told her that I just wanted to go back to sleep and didn't want to argue since I had sprained my ankle earlier in the day. However, she continued to ask me to wash my hands repeatedly. After some back and forth, I decided to sleep in the guest room instead of our bed. I am aware that I should have washed my hands after using the restroom, but I was annoyed that my significant other wouldn't drop the issue, and I couldn't fall back asleep until about 5:30 a.m. The next morning, I woke up in a bad mood, and my significant other asked me jokingly why I slept in the guest room. I told her that I slept there because she woke me up for the dog and wouldn't drop the hand-washing issue. I expected an apology from her since I thought waking me up for the dog was inappropriate. However, she told me that it was my fault for not washing my hands and that I should have tried harder to fall back asleep. She said being dramatic and needed to get over it. I got frustrated because I asked her to drop the issue several times during the night, but she had ignored me. I got angry and told her that I should have washed my hands, but that waking me up for the dog's comfort was ridiculous and that she should have dropped it when I asked her to. I then told her not to talk to me until she had something else to say besides "you're overreacting." She left for work, and I am now typing this in my home office feeling upset. We are at a standstill where I feel I need an apology, and she feels like I'm being dramatic. I tend to get angry quickly when I'm sleep deprived, so I know that I may be in the wrong here. I need some outside perspective. Am I the asshole?
Is he an asshole? No, but he's soft. But is he an asshole? No, I don't think he's an asshole. I get both sides of the spectrum there. Like personal hygiene is like something you got to take very, serious. Not washing the hands completely at 3 a.m. Yeah, I think we've all been there before. I try to do my best at 3 a.m. Now I'm, half into it, out of it. The fact that she was paying so much attention to this man though at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, did she have nothing better to do either? Like, she couldn't sleep, so she just like
right.
made his life miserable. I don't feel like she's necessarily the asshole 100%. He's definitely not an asshole. She's just very, very peculiar, it sounds like. But he's definitely not an asshole. He just probably could use some tough love, I guess. Sounds like he's pretty soft if you ask me. But that, neither here nor there. I get his side of the spectrum too. Like, I don't want to be nagged at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, yo, just let me be, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing where we're transitioning into the next morning. And he's like still upset thinking about this shit, and like he can't just like take it like
they're both being petty.
yeah. And this dude's like crying about like a sprained ankle from the day before. I'm like, dude, like this guy just had to vent a whole bunch of bullshit out. You know what I mean? I don't think he's an asshole. I just think he could use a little bit of hardening up.
Oh shit. So, what would be some change you want to see in your community there in Kansas, or just in any of the communities that you've lived in? Because like we've said, you've gone all over the place. So what would be some change you'd want to see in your community?
I don't necessarily plan on being where I'm at too much longer. Like I said, I kind of got some plans to move back out west before the end of the year. But I have grown a level of an attachment to this current area. And I would love to see it kind of transition out of its old way of thinking and kind of just transition into like a more modernized like from a cultural aspect. Like, there's like hardly anything to do out here at all. No fun, like no recreation time. I'd love to see more indoor basketball courts out here. I'd love to see a record studio, like kind of like a professional record studio, like go up off the ground and get launched off the ground. More recreational centers, just period. We got like a YMCA and a couple podunk parks out here that you can't do shit at because Dodge City, like one of the windiest fucking cities in the whole United States. Like no, real talk. Like I looked it up the other day. I think it like was literally #1 as of like December 21st of just last year. So just a few months ago, I think it was literally #1 in the United States for windiest city in America. And it's like absolutely crazy. You cannot do shit out here, recreation wise, without like wind blowing in your face, drinks flying over all over the place. Like there's so many loose shopping carts when you go to the grocery store that are just like flying through the parking lot, like with nobody behind them. Like it's absolutely insane out here. But yeah, I'd just love to see more stuff catered to young adults. Like this is such a blue collar town. Everybody works, 40 plus hours a week out here. There's definitely enough money to go around, and the city definitely makes enough tax money off of its, constituents or whatever you want to call them out here that they could do a lot more than what they're doing currently.
So before we talk about some of your more recent releases, what's some things people need to know about Slimlxrd? Who are you, like, as a person?
Like who am I in my day-to-day life?
Yeah.
I think as much harm and destruction as I've done to the community during my young adult years, I'm really trying to atone for some of that, right? So a lot of what I do right now, especially with the position I'm in, working for my buddy, is we're like doing stuff that build up the community. So, where I used to break down the community in certain aspects, just dabbling in the lifestyle that I dabbled in for those first few years after high school was complete, I'm really trying to atone for past mistakes. I still make mistakes every day. I think we all do. And obviously I just made one not too long ago that sent me back to prison for a year. But I really am at like a point of life where I'm at in my journey is like I want to see other people thrive. I want to see other people succeed. And I want to be involved with that too, right? So I don't want to be the only successful person I know. Like I want to see everybody around me that cares about me and that I care about on that level. I want to see everybody eat, whether or not we do the same thing together, or, someone might be in a completely separate line of work, but if I fuck with you, I fuck with you. I want to see everybody do well. Like, I'm done being submerged in negativity, like dwelled in it too long. I've been in some dark corners, and right now I'm just all about spiritual growth, physical growth, emotional knowledge and growth. I just want to see everybody just be doing well. Like, I'm tired of seeing people do bad, and it gets old real quick.
I hope that you keep your nose clean, man, because you're a good guy. Make some mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. So yeah. I hope you keep your nose clean and you stay on the path you're on right now.
Yeah. I think a big thing for me is gotta stop toting the blickies, man. It's just 2 times. Like the first time, bad enough. 2 times for the same shit, man. Damn. Just gotta be more careful.
So, let's see. I'm trying to find out a spot I want to pick here. We'll start with floating. Well, actually, you know what? We'll just start. Your stuff only goes back to 2022. You did Arch Villainy was your first single that's up still on Spotify from last year.
Yeah.
What was the creative process behind that?
Arch Villainy, that actually goes back to that originally dropped on SoundCloud in I think 2019. And I just had it vaulted. I love the song. I really did some like crazy ass shit with the vocals. I was like trying to get familiar with this new software. It's like super lo-fi, but the content behind the lyrics was just like me starting to retell my story. That was, I'd taken a few years off of the music stuff because I had a lot of legal issues pending from 2015, 2016 that I'd finally gotten taken care of and dealt with. When 2019 finally rolled around, I dropped that under a previous moniker, but I really just wanted to re-dabble in the music world and start telling my story again, because I felt like there was a few years there where I'd really missed out on being able to do something that I had loved doing my whole life, So it's kind of like a reintroduction on where I'm at, who I am, and since I had it vaulted, I just re-released it under Slimlxrd when it came out, and it got approved, and lo and behold, it's out there for the world to hear.
And then you did a single followed by an EP. Your single was Fly Culture, and then you dropped the Iron Butterfly EP, which is a 2-track. The Iron Butterfly and File. What was the concept behind that? Because they share the same cover art.
Yep. So those were actually beats produced by my buddy out in Arizona, Ease. He goes by Ease. I think he goes by a Tree Talking now. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't talked to him a little bit of time, unfortunately. Kind of, once I've left Arizona, kind of lost touch with some of the music folks that I've been working with for a while. The concept behind those was, so those are also old releases that, just are old vaulted material. And I had it, had the clearances for it sample-wise, and had everything kind of lined up, ready to go. So when I finally made my move last year and, determined it's time now to, like, start dropping some of this stuff, there were also just files that I had previously just ready to go. Those are actually the 2 last songs that I made before I stopped making music to deal with some of this legal stuff over the last few years. So that was kind of another reintroduction type of moment for me. Was this is vaulted material that I've had. Let's get it on out there for the world to hear.
So, like, looking through these for a while there, you were using like a lot of the same imagery for
yeah. A lot of it was I was just having trouble finding like copyright free images, and I was still figuring out because like the distribution platform I was using, they were like, it was like super picky about like file sizes and shit like that, and I just wasn't super tech savvy. I don't really spend a lot of time on the computer and doing stuff like that, so I had the toughest fucking time trying to find images that fit that like threshold. It was like 3,000 by 3,000 images. I didn't realize that there was all these like image resizing converters and shit like that out there that I'm more in tune with now and using. So like my cover art is more updated, but for a while there I was using the same 3 or 4 images for all of my releases.
Yeah, it's the fireworks, the forest with fog, and a road.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like those 3 for like, I think like 10 or 12 drops has probably got that cover art on there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
14, yeah.
14 altogether.
That's about right.
The one you used the most was the forest and fog.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was eventually just going to lead to like an album.
Right.
And then it just kept being more singles. I was like,
single, yeah. That's funny.
You'll have to shoot me like a release or whatever that you're going to have upcoming, and I'll see if I can't draw something up.
Okay, for sure.
But after Iron Butterfly, we'll try and break it up and do 2 tracks at a time. You did Run for Mayor and SBHS. What was the creative process behind those 2 tracks?
Run for Mayor, another, again, a lot of these ones are vaulted material. So that actually, I made that in that was 2015. So I made that in 2015. I only remember that because Donald Trump was running for president, and it's like one of my opening bars in there. I said something along the lines of, campaign so hard, something about Donald Trump. I'm campaigning so hard like Donald Trump. It was something like that. And so that was another one of the last songs I was making before I was dealing with some of this legal stuff. And then SBHS.
Yeah.
That actually stood for, what is it? Sour Blue Haze Shatter is what that stands for. We just broke it down and used acronyms. My buddy Elo's on there. And I only got like a small verse on there, but that was exclusively produced by my homie Ease and my homie Pigeon Royal. They like collabed on a beat, and then me and my buddy Elo, we collabed on the song. So that just kind of happened organically one day, just fucking around with the homies, just smoking a whole bunch of Sour Blue Haze Shatter, and it just kind of, they were fucking around on the beat, and we just were fucking around on the lyrics, and we just hopped in the booth and just wrapped it up.
And then you did Speak to the Soul and Too Deep for intro.
Okay, yeah. Now we're getting into the more current stuff. All right, so Too Deep for intro. That actually is featured Danny Eshelman. She's doing some background vocals on that. And so that was a beautiful thing. We actually got to link up. JD Decker actually produced, not the beat, but he like did the engineering behind it, like the vocals and all that shit. So we had actually hopped up in the studio and recorded that on a visit that I had right before my first incarceration. Back in not prison incarceration, but I spent a year in county jail fighting a case out here in Kansas on my way back home to Pennsylvania in 2016. And so I visited prior to that my grandparents, and I linked up with JD and Danny in 2015 and recorded that song. And I think the file just sat somewhere, and I one day just opened up an email a few years ago, and it was like boom right there, and I just like was like shit. There's that song that we made like all that time back when. So that was pretty cool. But Speak to the Soul, that was the first song I made after me and the now current ex-girlfriend had split up, and shit was just going south. And there's a lot of bars in there that are related to that ordeal, and even some of it's related to kind of like where I'm currently at. I kind of came back to Kansas in 2021 to try to fix our relationship. She wanted to move back home. She's from Kansas. I met her here, and then we moved out to Arizona. She wanted to come back home. I was working for Airbnb when I was living out in Phoenix, and I had to give a month's notice before I left that job. She didn't, because she was doing just housekeeper stuff, like for a side company. So she moved back like a month before I came back out here. And when I came back out here in 21, she was kind of like, it's over. And I was like, well, fuck, I wish I would have known that. I would have just kept my fucking happy ass in fucking Phoenix, you know what I mean? But shit happens for a reason, so I wasn't tripping on it. But as things were progressing more towards a prison sentence on this last go-around, I was like, I got to get back in this music shit. And so that song right there, Speak to the Soul, I'm just venting a whole bunch of shit. And a lot of it's about what I'm going through, dealing with the penitentiary shit, or about to be dealing with the penitentiary shit, knowing that it's coming up, and kind of like about my feelings about getting stuck back in this shithole of a state that I do not like.
And then you had Floatin' and Late Night were the next two you dropped right after that.
Yep, Floatin' was me trying to dabble in the realm of like melodies and stuff like that. There's really no rhyme or reason behind a lot of the content on there lyrically. I always make it relevant to like my life situation and like what I got currently going on, like I said. But it was mostly me just trying to dabble in melodies and also figure out like this mixing and mastering, because I had a lot more downtime. I got put on administrative leave with the company I was working for when I got caught up with this on this new gun charge and stuff. So I had a lot of free time to start like dabbling in this music shit again. So that was part of the process. So I was trying to work on new flows, and then work on being able to like blend the sounds together and figure it out that way too.
And then you dropped Madeline's Interlude and Taste.
Yep. Taste was something I was going through. Kind of late night endeavors when I was on house arrest, awaiting the results of this case. There were still some things up in the air as far as like if I even have to go do a prison sentence or not. And as things were like kind of like coming down towards the wire there, I was getting a feeling like I was going back. So I was just living it up as much as I could before that, that day of judgment came. So there's a couple bars in there that I, listen back to from time to time. I find kind of humorous. But Madeline's Interlude, Madeline is my ex-girlfriend that I was just prior mentioning, and that song I was kind of like in my feels one day and just was just kind of like just pouring it out, not like talking no shit or nothing like that, just kind of questioning like why things had to happen the way they had to happen, right? So it was mostly me just kind of like putting up to God, like, yo, like this is kind of how some of this shit unfolded. I don't really understand it, but you know, it is what it is. I guess we're just gonna roll with the punches as they come.
And then we have, I'm going to do one at a time on this one because I want to ask a question about the other one specifically.
For
You
sure.
dropped the Ghetto Spirit Guide next.
Yeah.
What was the
Yeah.
creative process behind that?
That one I kind of had to dive back into upbringing. A lot of that was like diving deep into how the culture around me like developed me from an early age, and then some of the experiences that I went through. Some in high school, not so much in high school, but like those first couple years outside of high school, and some of the decisions I had made and the lifestyle I was living at the time. It I really had to like do a lot of soul searching and being able to come up with the material and content for that lyrically. But you know, I heard the beat and I knew that I needed to get on it immediately. And that I mean, the process behind that it was easy to write to, but it really had to put me into a different like focus and train of thought in order to like come up with that content for.
And then you dropped Gun Lib, which is the same title as a West Side Gun track. Did you do that intentionally?
I did not do that intentionally. So sometimes when I get these beats off of YouTube and stuff, the producer's already got like a title for it, and that was already the title of a song. But I think what the producer was trying to say, without putting it like in quotations or anything, I think he was trying to make a song similar in sound to that song. And I actually didn't know until someone else brought it up to me. They're like, you know, that's a song for somebody, like, you know, that's a West Side Gun song, right? And I was like, man, fucking West Side Gun's catalog is so fucking big, man. I haven't listened to every West Side Gun song, so like, no, I didn't. But I stuck with it. No harm, no foul. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to knock nobody's style by any means. If anything, I just look at it as paying homage. You know, I fuck with West Side Gun. I fuck with the whole Griselda BSF crew. Like they definitely doing their thing. So yeah, no, I didn't know that for the longest time. Somebody had mentioned that to me, and it was definitely unintentional.
I was just curious. So, last single before you started dropping some like multi-track projects here, we got is Puzzle.
Yes.
What was the creative process behind Puzzle? Because this was the last single release before you got locked up, I do believe. Because you dropped a couple projects after that.
Yeah.
That was the last single.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of these songs probably could have been put together and put into a tape. I was just cranking music out so fast. I wasn't like planning on scheduling any releases and stuff. This song was around the same time that I met my homie Divine out there in Cali. He goes by Divine Two Sauce. He's like I said earlier, me and him got another collab project. We collabed on one of the projects on Spotify, and he like him getting involved with like my artistry was like a puzzle piece that I found. So when I came out with Puzzle, I was still dealing with the repercussions of still being freshly in trouble again, dealing with like some stuff that was going on with my family back home in Pennsylvania, and also dealing like with the ex-girlfriend's activities at that current time. Trying to juggle all three of those and process that mentally. So there was just a lot of stuff going on at that time. Like I think there's a bar in there. It's actually one of my more favorite ones out of my more current songs. I said something about I gotta get a check. So flex on my ex now is fuck her, but if she call, damn, I still might fuck her. You know what I mean? It was just like one of those things where it's like kind of like a double entendre, kind of like play on words. Like, yes, fuck you, but if you call, man, I still might fuck you. Like I don't know, but yeah, it was just a lot going on I was dealing with. You know, I'd also just like put the bottle down too. You know, I was like, there's a period of time where I was drinking pretty heavily, smoking pretty heavily, and it was just like interfering with my ability to like be creative. I was kind of like wallowing in a lot of personal drama that was going on, and I wasn't handling things very well. And so this was like me kind of breaking that shell, putting that puzzle piece together, and I was like getting back into my creative spirit first and foremost, and I was juggling a lot of stressful situations with being able to remain sober. So that was like a huge like win in my books. Like even though I was taking a lot of L's up to that point, in the recency of making the song and what was going on in personal life, a lot of L's were turning into W's for me. So it was just a beautiful moment.
And then your first album that dropped then was This Isn't Hollywood, which is a 7-track album.
Yep.
What was the creative process behind this album? Because you got Elohim, your buddy Elohim is on 3 of them.
Yep.
What was the process behind that project?
So that was the first project that got put together after I met my homie Divine. He's the one who mixed and mastered all the vocals. So it was like it was the first project that had like a clean, crisp sound to it. Like on the songs, like they sound good when you play them in the car. They're not like distorted by any means. It's not like that lo-fi. It's more like it's like a more official release as far as like everything else I had dropping at that time. And the song Elohim, those songs were actually some more songs that were vaulted from the past, but I felt like they fit in to the idea behind the album, or the EP, I should say, because I don't look at it as an album. I just look at it as like an EP, more of a mixtape than anything. But I felt like it blended. Like I felt like those old songs mixed and meshed well with like the current theme behind it, which was, you know, this shit that we live, like this is real life. Like to a lot of us, you know, that are amateurs still and aren't like where we want to be in the professional setting of making music. This is not Hollywood. This is not fake shit. Like this is real life shit that we go through on a day-to-day basis. And I just wanted to kind of like spit different stories that kind of reflect that mood and that tone. And I felt like I did a pretty good job at creating like a concept for an album and executing it correctly.
And then you had a 4-track EP that dropped after that, State Trials.
Yeah.
Kind of touched base on that earlier, that this was you telling the story of like all the events leading up to your incarceration.
Yeah.
So we already touched base on that one, so we'll go to the next one that dropped, The Last Trip, which is a 3-track EP.
Yeah.
What was the process behind this? And this cover art is really dope too, by the way.
Yeah, appreciate that. Funny story, that artwork was like pretty much already put together in its fullest format on Canva. That was like something I'd recently discovered at the time, being able to like utilize their platform to make like album covers and shit like that. And someone like had created a majority of that as a template, and so I just kind of like, I think I changed some colors on it and then just like added the title to it. So that was pretty cool. I think that was like one of the first things that I used to create my own, I guess it was somebody else's, but album cover. Like I feel like it's mine in the aspect that it's like got my name and shit on it, but it was like somebody else's template, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so the concept behind that was, and I was really eager to push this one out because this kind of goes along the same lines of State Trials, except it's more of like, it was more current to what was up and coming, as opposed to like State Trials was more reflective, right? It's more like looking back on the situation with fresh eyes, like this is how we got here. And The Last Trip was like, okay, now we're here. This is what like is still going on, and this is like what is about to be happening as we move forward. So the idea behind that was kind of like a allegorical to this prison sentence I had coming up at the time before I made this. I was like, this is the last trip. Like this shit's done and over with. Like, by the time I get out, I might already be 29, or I might be pushing 29, and that gives me like 1 year left to enjoy my 20s, and so I've spent a majority of that shit spent in the system, and I've spent a lot of that time not being able to indulge in life in the way that I think is more appropriate, especially for an artist. I kind of jeopardized aspects and periods of time of my life just to have the content to speak upon. So, the shit we do for street cred and validity is absolutely insane sometimes, to say the least. But like I said, the last trip was definitely allegorical to what I had coming plan for the future, moving forward. And then it was also, don't know how to say it like lightly, I guess, but I was dabbling in the world of psychedelics for a minute there, like right before this most current incarceration. So it was like kind of funny how I could kind of string that along into two different things, like the last trip and the last trip, right? So it was kind of like play on words there with what we had going content wise.
And then you had a single drop. Again, I was wrong. There was another single. There's 2 more singles. You had Ain't Living Right.
Oh yeah, I forgot that drop. Yeah.
What was the creative process behind that?
Just because I felt like the last trip project, and I actually didn't know that these releases were going to get released. I think these actually came down after I'd already been incarcerated. Someone actually told me like, hey, those drops like got approved, so like they're on your platforms now or whatever. Those were songs that I originally just had vaulted. I think it's Ain't Living Right. And I think the other one's like Wet Freestyle or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And so those are songs that I was just kind of like fucking around in the studio with and just seeing if I could crank it out. I think I was like coming down to like a day or 2 left before I knew I was going to be like going off and doing this little bit of time. And so I just was like fucking around in the studio, just cranking out as much material as I could. And I just had scheduled it for release, didn't know if it was going to get approved or not. And I think it got approved like my first or second weekend. I think someone reached out and told me like, hey, this fucking song you dropped like released. I was like, oh shit, that's great. I didn't think it was, but
yeah, it dropped June 10th.
Okay, I was still out for that. I think they might backlog that stuff. I'm not sure, like when it drops, because like I feel like because I went down, I think June 20th or June 24th, like in between June 20th and June 24th. I can't remember exactly what day. It was like sometime during that week though. But I don't remember getting any notifications on that actually dropping. But who knows? There's a lot of shit going on, so I'm not 100% sure.
That might have been on the last bit of your priorities for that time period.
Yeah.
Then the Wet Freestyle dropped on July 1st.
Okay, I was incarcerated when that one dropped, for sure. I guess Ain't Living Right came out long before I anticipated it. Maybe I scheduled that one around the time I scheduled the last trip to be released. Because like the last thing I do remember is the last trip was like the last thing I remember getting approved for. But I was more focused on getting that released anyways, just because it's so like far superior to a lot of the other shit that I've done. I feel like I was able to talk my shit and tell my story at the same time. Come up with like creative bars as well as like just hit the beat just the way it felt like I needed to be hit. So that was my main focus musically before I went down, was the last trip. The other stuff I think was just kind of like freebies or bonuses, like looking back at it from this current perspective, you know.
And that brings us to your new music that just started dropping. You dropped, I might fuck up the pronunciation of it, Summerlawn?
Summerlawn. Yep.
Summerlawn?
Yeah.
What was the creative process behind this? Because this is one of your more longer tracks. It's 3.5 minutes on its own.
Yeah. So the whole process behind this is like super wild. I actually had like 6 or 7 songs scheduled to be part of Summerlawn. It was supposed to be an EP. There were some problems with the distribution company, and so I had to like scratch like all that material. So I'm just gonna have to try to upload it on a different platform at a later date. But there was one song, and it's the song that's now titled Summerlawn. Was originally just gonna be called Drive, but now it's the title track for its own little thing or whatever. Summerlawn was originally supposed to be like a 5 to 7 song EP. I think I had 7 songs on it ready to go. I think 6 of them got like red flagged, and so I had to like figure out what the problem was with some of these songs. And there was just a whole bunch of laundry list of reasons. So I just said, fuck it, scratch it. Let me just drop the one that got approved on it, and then I'll just use these other 6 at a later date for a different like track or a different EP name. But the idea
also just drop it on YouTube on its own.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing, just to have the content out there. Yeah, Summerlawn, it's supposed to be a tape. It was supposed to be a whole fucking tape, and it ended up just being a song. But the song, I really wanted that song to get approved and be scheduled for release like ASAP. So I rolled with it, and I love that fucking song. It's like currently like probably like my favorite song. I didn't push the boundaries lyrically too far. I made it more of like a vibe. You know, I made it more vibey.
It's the beat.
Yeah, yeah, and so like the content behind that is actually kind of it's kind of hard to explain actually. So there's a movie called Vanilla Sky, right? It's got Tom Cruise in it. It's got Cameron Diaz in it. A couple other major actors and actresses in it. But the premise of that movie like struck a deep nerve in me, right, when I like seen it. And it's like an older movie. I think it's like 2000 or 2001, maybe even before then. So it's a little bit of older of a movie. But it's like a fire ass movie, and it like just made me think about like reality different. And so the name of that movie is Vanilla Sky, obviously. And so like the bars in that song is, you know, Vanilla Skies, Vanilla Skies. It's like the opening like bar that I have in the verse is like, I'm dreaming, don't wake me up, right? And that's like the whole premise of the movie is like this dude's like kind of like stuck in limbo between a dream and reality. And he's just like trying to figure out like which reality he wants to like
Right.
do. So, you know, I'm talking that talk on there that's relatable to the situations I've been in and obviously been in prison for. But I'm also like, just, you know, if I'm dreaming, don't wake me up. Like, so it's just it's kind of like very metaphorical, very allegorical. I just, you know, I am absolutely in love with that track. I feel like the mix came out pretty on point. So that's probably my favorite song right now of my own.
And then that brings us to your newest release that just dropped yesterday on the 20th.
Yeah.
A little 2-piece EP, Vanilla Skies.
Yep. Yeah. Kept the theme going a little bit. Yeah.
We played the intro track, Coach Wallet After Party, earlier.
Yeah.
So what was the creative process behind those two songs? Because the other song on there is Codeine Gumbo.
Yeah. Codeine Gumbo. Such an interesting name. So the name of that beat I didn't really care for on YouTube, so I just kept it something related to like what it was. I think it was like literally just called Gummy, and I was like, I'm cool on that, you know. So I was like, let me just fucking try to like put a play on it. So I did that. But the idea behind the Coach Wallet After Party is, you know, even just listening to the lyrics, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. But it was just I heard the beat and I just wanted to tackle again new melodies and try to do something a little bit different, like outside of my comfort range, so to speak. Excuse me. But it was pretty simple, you know, just kind of like this track starts off. I'm just like talking with the homies, and we're like, damn, we should go haul at these shawties over here. Like, they looking good, you know what I mean? Type of deal. And then like it actually transitions into a little bit more serious subject matter, and I'm still being pretty playful on the beat though. I feel like flow wise, so like it transitions from like kind of bullshit with the homies about like, look at these fly mamacitas over here, you know what I mean? And it transitions into like more of a conversation one-on-one with me and one of the females I find attractive, where I'm just kind of telling her about like who I am, like the things that I've been through and how I've kind of got to this current stage, right? And then it's like it kind of cuts. There's like a little bit of a bridge in there, and I'm like, well, you know, we're having a little get together after this venue that we're at or whatever, and if you want to come roll with us, just holler, let me know. So a lot of that song I did in mind with the visuals that I want to use in a music video. So I wanted to create a lot of content lyrically that you could visualize without actually seeing it, and that way when you do get to see it, like when we get a video done for it, you're gonna be like, damn, like every bar is matching up to something visually I'm seeing on the screen. So I kind of made it with a couple different purposes in mind there. And then Codeine Gumbo just kind of plays along the same lines of it's like kind of it fits the same vibe. So I just felt like, let me just drop a 2-track little EP or whatever, LP, limited play, EP, extended play, whatever you want to call it. Let me just drop it because it's kind of the same vibe set. It's I don't know, more ethereal in sound, kind of more, you know, R&B-ish, alternative R&B maybe. But I'm just like still doing my rap thing over it because I can't sing for shit. So.
All right. Well, if there's anything you have that we didn't touch base on? I'll let you. The floor is yours to speak on anything you got to speak on.
Man, the biggest thing we got going on right now, I mentioned it earlier, we got a lot of singles dropping. I got a lot of personal singles dropping. I got another 2-track EP coming out soon called The Way of the World. I would say the vibe on that's more like Alchemist type beats, Earl Sweatshirt maybe type beats, something along those lines, sound-wise, for anyone that might be, indulging in that aspect of hip-hop. Like, that's going to be that current sound. Me and the homie, Divine Too Saucy, got an EP coming out early next month. It's untitled as of now, but all the songs on my end have been mixed and mastered. I could show some snippets of that here. I can send you some snippets a little bit later if you want to listen to them and shit. He's still working on getting his verses done and doing the last mix and master. That's going to be a 4-track EP. Like I said, it's untitled at this current moment, but we got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of drops coming over the next, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks.
I do have one question here.
Yeah, yep.
So you're a basketball guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your thoughts on Ja Morant?
Man. Ja Morant can ball. He can ball. I feel like he's a pretty cool dude, you know what I mean? From what we get to see of him, I don't know him personally, so I can't make that assumption. But I do like Ja Morant. The one thing I will say, his PR team fucking sucks. So he needs to fire his publicist and his PR team, and he needs to get a new public relations team. His PR team fucking blows.
He needs to change his circle too.
Yeah, for sure. He just needs to, stick to what's making him the most money, and the portrayal of whatever is going on and that other extra shit is not what's making him money, Unless he's like low-key making $1 billion that we don't know about, like under the table type shit. I would stick to what's making me the most money personally, and if I can hoop like that, I'd be out there hooping like that. I would give a fuck less than anything else. But yeah, that's my take on it.
All right, man. I'm gonna do the outro real quick here. If you guys catching this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All of Slimlxrd's links will be in the description below. His IG, his Spotify, his YouTube, his Apple. Make sure you tap in. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, appreciate you. Good to see you, homie.
Good to see you. Take care.
Yeah, take care.